Okay, well, hello everybody and welcome to the webinar this afternoon, and thanks very much to my colleague Craig for getting the ball rolling, and I'm sure you maybe chip in or any comments throughout the webinar. So I'm just going to start and look to Craig to guide me on this. So just in a minute or two you should be seeing my desktop.
And is it PowerPoint you're doing today?
Yeah, just going to get a PowerPoint up and running, and then later we'll have a quick look at the iPad and using passports on the iPad.
We're all set to go.
So I'll just put that into a slideshow. Here we are, yeah. So today's webinar is about personal communication passports, and I'm hoping that this will give you a good overview of the rationale for using passports and some of the things to think about, and also some pointers for starting to create passports, and some resources that are available to you to help you with that process. So we'll cover what a passport is, who might have a passport, what does it look like, and who might benefit from reading a passport. And then we'll have a look at sort of content of passports and, as I said, how you can start to put a passport together. First of all, I should say that passports were originally created by one of the members of the call team here, Sally Miller. Back in 1991, she pioneered the use of passports and put together a lot of the resources that you'll be seeing today. So we're certainly grateful for all the work that Sally has done to get us to where we are with using passports. But what I'm going to do is just kick off with some quick questions. So what is a passport? As you can see from the quote here from Sally and Stuart Aiken, who also assisted with some of the work surrounding passports, it's a way of children, and adults who cannot otherwise share information about themselves, having a tool so that they can share that information in an easy to follow format. So it's often children who have got a complex communication difficulty, children and adults, but it could just be for whatever reason the individual is not able to share that information about themselves. So what's the sort of essence of a passport? And just a few pointers here that I'm showing on the screen. So the purpose really is to present the individual in a very positive way, not identifying information about themselves as perhaps difficulties or problems, so to speak, but presenting it in such a way that really helps people that are supporting them to support them, and probably presents the individual really as things that they can do rather than things that they can't. So the information really and strategies are presented so that it will help those around to provide a sort of informed and consistent level of support. And I think this a key thing here is that that often there are documents and IEPs and plans and reports that are written about individuals that often are shared, but will tend to stay in filing cabinets and folders and not always be all that easily accessible and to individuals or people that are supporting individuals when they need it, and maybe also doesn't always highlight the key bits of information that are necessary to those supporting individuals. So a passport would highlight priority areas. It would highlight the main key points that those around children and adults with difficulties need to know. But also another key fact is that the putting together of a passport can involve the individual themselves, and there are lots of ways around that. Other tools that you might use, other choices you might give the individual so far as how it looks, and even the colour of the folder it would be in, or the pictures that are used to help to illustrate the information, down to perhaps inputting some of the text, maybe with some literacy support there. So it certainly promotes participation, the producing or the individual in producing the passport, but also the passports are normally produced in such a way that the individual can share the information themselves. So whether that's in printed format or perhaps in more digital format, such as on a PC or on an iPad, which of course gives users much more access options, such as Switch or eye gaze, for example. So finally, I think another key point probably to mention is that the process often is as useful as the end point itself. The process of putting a passport together, getting a team together of the key individuals to talk about what information would be useful to go in the passport, what are the priority areas, that is often as useful, getting the communication between the team as the actual end product itself. So process and endpoint just as important as each other. So just three other main things about a passport. If it obviously has key information, it will be informative and useful, and will be something that people will tend to pick up and use. But also adding a bit of fun in there just again adds to how sort of attractiveness of it, and can help, I suppose, particularly with maybe some of the issues that are content within it that might be a wee bit more difficult to get across, or where there's sort of disagreements. So having a sort of some sort of fun comments, pictures, can just, as I say, make it a bit more attractive and maybe a bit more accessible. So I thought best really at this point to just have a look and see what a passport might actually look like. And here's one that's been in our resource cabinet for some time. Of course, the actual booklet or folder that you use for your passport can vary greatly. I think this is originally a photograph album. Nice attractive cover, and of course things on the front that are attractive really to make you want to open it and see what's behind the cover. So typically a photograph, name on the front, and maybe a wee message like, please read my passport. There's lots of interesting information inside. So typically inside you would see an index page, and obviously this is a fair number of pages in it, this one, 23, and I think as a rule of thumb probably we would advise not to have too many pages, because you do get to the point where it's going to be perhaps a bit more difficult to navigate. So around about 20, I think, but of course you could have a lot less than that. It doesn't have to have the same range of pages as you can see in this particular passport, but just gives you a good overview of the types of content that you would have in it. So information, maybe the key information first, what you need to know, and then for information, in this case, about family, which of course would have photographs in it, things that I can do, it's what I do. Eating and drinking typically would be in there too, and also communication, so talking to me. Things also that the individual might be working towards, so goals, and also typically people who help me, because often there's a wide variety of support workers there, so good to have some more photographs in there too. So I'll say that's a bit of an overview of what what it might look like, and just a few shots from inside this particular passport. You can see it's key bits of information as opposed to long text, and quite a few illustrations there. Picture communication symbols are the ones in this particular passport, but it could be really a variety of different symbols or photographs, clip art. So I'll say just another couple of example pages from that particular passport. And easy to change the pages, I suppose, with this format is something to think about, because one of the key things with passports too is them being up to date and being updated regularly, and when information changes, it's important to be able to maybe take a page out and update it and then slot the new page in. So who would benefit from having a passport? And really, as a range of individuals could be supported with passports. As I mentioned already, person, obviously, an individual with a communication difficulty would certainly benefit from having a passport made for them. Life circumstances, I think what I'm meaning here really is transition points, and this is where passports have been used a lot. In the work that we do, we certainly would promote passports when a child is maybe starting school or leaving school, say primary to go up to secondary school. So they're going to be encountering a new set of staff, and it's obviously useful for them to have access to this information easily and quickly to help them to get to know the child or adult and get to know how they can support them best. So it could be maybe the end of school, transitioning to college, or say going into respite, going into say hospital. So it's not always a case that you know that transition is going to happen if it's say a hospital admission. So good idea to have a passport in place for when it's needed. So certainly children with severe and profound learning needs are likely to have a lot of information that is needed to be shared about them, about the skills that they have, physical needs, equipment that is needed, and that certainly photographs really lend themselves particularly well to have in the passport, showing equipment that's needed and how it's to be positioned to support the individual. And I'm sure there's many others and many other instances when a passport would be useful, but that certainly gives you just a few for starters. And I think I probably covered this already, but who would benefit from reading it? Well, certainly the individual themselves. I'm sure children and adults just love looking at photographs and things about themselves, so I'm sure you'd like to have a passport to be able to share with others, but also family members and any of the core team really that's working with that individual would benefit from having access to a passport and reading it. So going to jump here to have a think about passport templates, because obviously it's important to sort of make this process as easy as possible for people putting passports together, and we have certainly got 2 passport templates available through the Communication Passports website that you can download and use. And the idea is it's an easy to use format, and I suppose in situations where you may be creating quite a few passports, it means that you've got the same format to work to, which means collecting the same sort of type of information. But I think the thing to remember is it's important that the passports are personal to the individual. So it's important that if you're in, say, a school, they don't all look the same. So good to have a fair bit of variety in the things that you can vary. However, your core content is likely to be fairly similar. So the templates do give you pointers to basic information, but I think the thing to remember that really this is not, it's not set in tablets of stone. You can alter the pages within the template and really put in whatever you feel is going to be most appropriate for the individual. So what I'm going to do is just jump now to the Passport website so you can see where to access the templates, and you can either access that through the Call Scotland website at the top, mentioned at the top there, and there is a link on the tab at the top to go to passports, or you can just go straight to communicationpassports.org.uk. And I'll just need to come out of this and jump in to there. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is the Call Scotland website, and along the top you've got the Passports tab, which takes you here. We're going to be updating the website over the next wee while, so it'll look slightly different, but the core content should certainly be the same. You'll notice the tabs along here, and there's a bit of background information just about passports and sort of background, and some of the information I've covered already. Excuse me. And if you go to the third tab, Creating Passports, you'll see that there's a link to the templates. I'm just going to click on that now. And what you'll see on that page is the basic passport template. It's a PowerPoint file. And one that's really more geared towards adults, and certainly you might want to have a look at that if it's adults that you're working with. At the bottom there is also a PDF format, so if for whatever reason the PowerPoint format doesn't work for you, although generally speaking most PCs will have Microsoft PowerPoint on them, but if there's any reason that that's difficult for you, there is a PDF format. Now this is really just for printing out, however, because it's not possible to actually edit a PDF, but you might want to print it off and then edit it by hand. So the basic passport, I'm just going to show you that just now. So that's me just downloaded it, and if I can just get to my downloads. If not, I shall forget to it. Craig, can you help with that by any chance? I'm just not getting to my in my downloads. Yep. Okay, and not that one. Downloads now. Of course, I've got lots of towards the bottom. Oops. Sorry folks, let's come back to that, and up here. Right, so the basic passport, here we are, right. Here's the basic passport templates. So this is designed to be printed off in an A5 format. And there are instructions on the website for setting or for going into PowerPoint and selecting for this to be printed off in A5, because it was felt that this was likely to be the most sort of useful size for people to use. So there's some instructions at the very start just about using the templates, copyright issues if you're deciding to use symbols within your passport, and then you'll see there are pages that you can then within PowerPoint edit. So there's lots of suggestions here as to what you can put in your passport, and I'm just flicking through to give you a feel for it, but these are all provided you enable editing. These are all it's all possible to edit all of these pages. So what do we have? We have quite a number of pages here, 19 pages. So once you've done your editing, obviously save as, and then keep your your basic template for the next time, and then following the instructions on the call website for printing it off. So really you can change anything at all about the template that you want, but that's there to help you getting started. So the other one, just go back to the Passports website. The other one that's here says more adult orientated, but also there is a mini passport leaflet here that you might want to download, and that's a Word file. And this is because it may be that you don't really want a full folder with lots of pages. It may be you want something that's really much smaller with succinct information, really just on a two-sided document. And this is where the mini passport comes in. So you might want to go back to the website and have a look at that. I think I have got, I might have some photographs of that just to flick through. But what I'm going to do is just go back to my PowerPoint now and put that back into show if I can. There we are, yep. And whiz through to where we were. Just going to get back to where we were. And I'm going to show you another template that I used, here we are, in some of the work I did previously in Fife before joining the call team. And just going to go back. Very similar, really, looking to the call passport template. And again, there's pointers in this template as to what you can add to the pages. But what I did want to highlight at the end of this passport, which I like, is it does have the passport coordinator's name. So the person that you might identify as sort of being behind coordinating, putting the passport together, coordinating the team. So useful maybe to have that person's name, so anybody who picks up the passport and looks at it knows who to speak to if they've got any feedback or comments to make. And also a page at the back that people can add their name and comments. So it might be that somebody's read it and might have a suggestion for something that could go into the passport. So having that at the back of the passport it gives the opportunity for that. So what I want to do now is maybe just move on and give you a sort of flavour of this is, I suppose, maybe what not to put in a passport. As I mentioned before, it's not about highlighting sort of the difficulties that an individual has, but really more to do with highlighting the things that an individual can do. So you'll see from this one here, it's about what this child can actually do for themselves rather than the things that they can't do. And also it's about what staff can do to support them. So there's some support ideas in that passport. It's about, might be about the equipment that person needs. So here's a page with some text about what's needed to be in place for this people to help them with their communication, and maybe for using their switch and how you can support a person to use their switch best. So, and also a bit about this particular page is about the person's symbol book, and gives you pointers maybe as to how to encourage an individual to use their symbol book, sort of starters, topics and questions. So in terms of who might create a passport, often it would be the maybe school team, or might be the other core teams around adults in adult services. And it's usually good to have more than sort of 2 people on the team, because the more people you have, the more ideas you have for what could go into a passport, and it shares the workload. So just a few things about getting started and preparation. Obviously permission and agreement for content of the passport is key. So it might be you want to think about a permission letter for that, or that's agreed, particularly with the individual and with their family. As I mentioned, identify somebody really to coordinate everything. If it's, say, within a school or a centre, good to get senior management on board, because putting a passport together is going to take time. It's going to take time and resources, so good to get that agreed. Maybe get it in as a goal or a target in, say, an individual child's plan, and make a reasonable time scale, because putting a passport together is certainly going to take quite a bit of time to do. So identify who might contribute to it, obviously the people that are on the team, but might be worth consulting others, such as speech therapist, physiotherapist, nursery nurses, anybody who really knows the individual well and will have an insight as to the information that could go into a passport. And as I mentioned, sort of allocate roles and time scales. So there are different ways to gather information. Can be face-to-face or written, and what I did want to mention is that we have a call passport book, and I'll show you in a minute where to find out information about the book. But in the book there is a template which is freely copyable, which can be used to give to family or other members to write down sort of key information that can then be used to go into the passport. So setting up, if you don't have access to that, setting up your own form to gather the key information might be an alternative. Obviously once you've got the information, putting it into a draft and showing it and sharing it to others for comment is a good idea before producing the finalised passport. So I'm going to flick through what a passport might look like, and obviously you want it to be robust because it's going to be carried around. You want it to be able to stand up to that, and there are lots of different formats that you can think about, but important that it can be easily updated. And here's just a selection of some of the passports that we've produced in Call, and I think as a rule of thumb, something that's attractive. I like the one that was produced for a teenager, a female teenager, the folder. I think that she most likely chose that herself, with the cool girl on the front. Something that invites you to open it up and read it, but it could be photo albums or this Polly Pocket type folders, or something that you produce and laminate yourself and then comb. I mentioned the idea of having maybe single page formats or alternative formats, and here's just a couple of photos, a couple of examples here that could be with key information. It means it's really easily accessible. It could be something that's up on the wall, or say something that an individual carries around with them, but it doesn't have to be a folder. And another alternative format, and this was produced or designed by speech therapist Angela Cocker from Belfast, is a placemat, and this is really for information to support individuals with eating and drinking issues. So on one side you'd have a photograph of the person, excuse me, and then on the other side you would have pointers to how you can assist them with their eating and drinking. This is downloadable from the Call website too, so if you wish to have a look at this, you can get it from there. So pictures for passports, yeah, I mean there's lots of options for that, from symbols to photographs and images, and I think I've probably covered most of this too. Important to use images maybe that the individual's already familiar with, and involve the pupil, client and their family in providing the pictures, but just be aware of copyright and if you are using symbols, go by the sort of copyright issues for that. And sometimes fewer symbols or photographs are actually better than too many. So a key style of passports is they are written in the first person, and that certainly helps when the individual is sharing the information themselves. And here's the photograph of the actual passports book that I referenced, and I think what I've shared today, I say, are just some of the key things about passports, but if you feel you want to consider it a bit more, then you can order this from Call. I think the current price is £14, and there's postage to get it out to you as well. But there's certainly lots of information in here. It was written in 2003, so some of the sort of digital information will be slightly out of date, but really the core content is just as relevant. So I realise we're just about running out of time, but I do want to show you one other alternative format very briefly for creating a passport, and that is to use the iPad. There's a app called Book Creator, is one that we like a lot, although there are other photo story apps, and Book Creator allows you to, as I say, make a book, and that book of course could be a communication passport book, but what allows you to do is to put in photos and videos, so videos you obviously don't get the printed version, and to put in audio. So I think you should be seeing that now on the screen. So this is us looking at this, the passport in iBooks. So Book Creator is the editor. Once you've edited your book, you share it to your iBooks app. And this is one very sort of quickly put together and just looks very much like a passport. But what you got is with the speaker sign. And when you tap that, you can have some audio. My passport. So that could be something that a pupil or adult is sharing using an iPad, and again, it just makes it a bit more accessible, because it may be that they are not necessarily reading the text themselves, but they are able to share some information by having the audio hotspots. Just going to flick through to the next page. So you could have your contents page next, and also a wee bit of audio here too. There's lots in here to learn about me. And really you could record anything in there at all. You could have more than one speaker on a page, you could have quite a few, or you don't have to have any speech output at all if you don't want it. But it just makes it really, using the technology to produce it and to share it makes it more sort of interesting and accessible. So you can share your app with others. You can email your passport from Book Creator, but it emails it as a PDF format. So you can email that to any computer as a PDF format, and in doing so it does mean that it will not play your video or your audio, but everything else that you see would be in there. So I think that's us most likely out of time. One other thing I didn't mention, of course, is that if you're producing your passport in PowerPoint for then printing out, you can use PowerPoint to view passports as well, a bit like we're using the iPad. So for pupils, for children, adults themselves, they could actually be viewing the passport in PowerPoint and sharing it. And if, say, they're unable to use the keyboard or the mouse to advance the pages, then if you have a switch interface box and a switch, or if you have eye gaze as your access method, you could be using these methods to advance the pages. So it allows the individual to control the passport themselves and share it in that format, whereas they might find the printed passport quite difficult to handle and share. So, as I hope I have given you a good start and overview of passports, there's lots more information on the COL website, and I'll be happy if there are any questions at this point.
Yes, thanks, Gillian.
Yep.
That was excellent. An excellent overview and comprehensive overview of passports. I do like the book creator one. Looks great, actually. So if you have any questions for Gillian, if you have a microphone handy and you want to put your hand up, and I'll enable it for you so you can chat, or just pop a question into the text pane and we'll get Gillian to answer it for you.
Just maybe something to say to Craig is that if there is any school certainly within our area that we work within Scotland that would be interested in any training, we can organise training sessions in passports, and that means that the staff themselves can sort of work together, discuss the issues and make a plan when it's on-site training.
They're quite popular.
So, yeah, we've done quite a few of them.
So Claire is asking a question, I think. Okay. So Helen uses Book Creator a lot.
Oh, good.
So that's
for other things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a good way forward.
Yeah, it's I think free for one book, so you could actually just try it out.
It's a light version,
there's a light version. It's $2.99, $3.99, I think, to purchase. And actually, something else to mention too is that it's available for Android. So if you don't have access to an iPad but do have access to an Android tablet, and the website's at redjumper.net, I think is the actual website. I haven't looked into this yet, but there is a Windows version that is free for download. I noticed just looking at the website today.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, if there aren't any, we don't have any other questions, we'll just close the session, and remember it will be archived, so if you go onto the COL Scotland site and look at the webinars, it's just on the right hand side towards the bottom, you can see all the archives. It should be up within a couple of days. But otherwise, that's the last of this term.
For this year.
Yeah,
right.
So just wish you all happy holidays, and again, thanks again for coming along. And thanks, Gillian. Okay,
yep.
Thanks
everybody for coming along.
Okay,
Bye now.
Bye.